Welcome back, everybody, to another patch notes breakdown with me, Blaze McBain. If you're not new around here, or if you are, I've lost my voice over the past several days, and we're on the way of getting it back. But I wanted to make sure to get this out to you with the patch coming out tomorrow, April 18th, which happens to be one of my son's birthdays. This is the Light Weaver 10.4 update, where we're going to be getting the new god, IX Chel, new Maya god, new mage. Looks pretty good, pretty interesting kit overall, developed by Aggro, and I'm really excited to see how she ends up playing. And will she be a multi-role god? We'll have to come to find out. But the passive is called Rainbow Weaver. Every time IX Chel hits an enemy god or provides an allied god with beneficial effects, she gains one color of the rainbow. On obtaining all 6, her basic attack has no movement penalty. It is increased in size and deals bonus damage. Bonus damage is up to 40% of your magical power. I think it's pretty interesting, but what I really am digging about her kit, what I really find probably the most interesting part, is she's kind of a combo god, in the sense of like you proc an ability and it gets an alternate effect. So her first ability, Gleaming Blast, IX Chel fires a blast of gleaming light ahead of her, dealing damage, piercing minions, and stopping on the first enemy god hit. Minions in jungle camps take an extra 40% damage. Hitting an enemy causes this ability to change. So your range is 70, scales from 60 to 140, 40% of your magical power scaling on that. Cost is 40 to 60, cooldown 6 seconds. Not a lot of damage on this ability, not your main clear. But what's cool is you hit this ability, well then you get the alternate ability one, which is Threads of Light. IX Chel weaves together strands of light, which fully illuminate after a short delay, dealing damage in their path. Enemies facing the strands as they illuminate are blinded for 1 second. That's right. We got another blind in the game, baby. After 10 years, we got another blind. Enemies hit by the field, or the tip of the field, where all the strands meet, take bonus damage. On fire, this ability turns back into Gleaming Blast and the cooldown begins. Range is 65, damage is a little bit more, starting off 70, but scales to 250 plus 55% of your magical power. Bonus damage is 30%, and the cost will be 50 to 70. Ability number 2 here is going to be Lunar Invocation. IX Chel marks an area on the ground, invoking it with lunar energy. Think Jingwei Whirlwind, same idea. After a short delay, the energy explodes, knocking up and dealing damage to enemies with while healing allies, or to enemies while healing allies. Allies have to be in the area, from my understanding. The range and radius is 55-20. Damage goes from 95 to 295 plus 70% of your magical scaling. 50 to 180 on the heal. Cost is 65. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This is your lane clear. You want to level this first for lane clear. If you hit it, guess what? You get another ability. It's Rainbow Crash. IX Chel sends out an arcing, weaved rainbow towards a location while gaining a small burst of movement speed. On landing, the crashing rainbow deals damage and roots enemies, spitting into smaller orbs of light. These orbs can be picked up by IX Chel and her allies for increased movement speed. So if you land this ability, you're going to get some orbs, and guess what? You're going to go burr, baby. It's going to feel really good on the movement speed hunter build that's kind of happening right now, where you go Cal, Bloodforge, Demon Blade, Boomerang. I mean, this is going to feel good on anybody. Imagine your Mercury, you go and pick those up, and anybody. Movement speed just feels good. I'm excited to see how you play around this ability as an ally, and I think it makes for some very interesting plays. Really, a lot of her kit, I feel, is like setting up her allies, and then she just stands in the back and goes boom, 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 you're dead. Which leads into our ultimate, the Great End. IX Chel becomes CC immune and channels all of her energy into a single intense beam of light. The beam deals damage to enemies and heals allies every 0.2 seconds for 3 seconds. If you play Overwatch, you can kind of think of this as Moira ult, increasing the duration if IX Chel can do both at the same time. So if you're hitting an ally and an enemy at the same time, you're going to increase the duration of this. Enemies take increasing damage per tick, which decays rapidly if not hit recently. Healing an ally also heals IX Chel. IX Chel gains 6 stacks of Rainbow Weaver on fire. The range on this is 70. The damage per tick is 14 to 50 plus 7.5% of your magical power. Heal per tick is 2% of missing HP. Subsequent damage increases by 5%. Maximum damage increase per target is 100%. Maximum duration is 6 seconds. cooldown's 90 seconds, cost is 90. This is like walking Anubis ult, from my understanding. So you're going to be able to fire this forward, and you're going to be able to heal your allies and do damage. Not going to do as much damage as Anubis, obviously. But I think what's actually really interesting about her kit as well is, from my understanding, like as you land these abilities, like they become more intense from listening to Aggro talk about it. So I think that's going to be a really interesting part. I would love for you all in the comments to let me know, what do you think about IX Chel? What are you planning on playing her? Do you think she's going to be strong? Do you think she's not going to be strong? Do you think her main role will be mid? I've seen some people talk about her. Could she go support? So really curious to see what y'all's thoughts are. Let me know in the comments below. But as we move forward, let's look at the new skins coming out. Obviously, we're going to get our Recolor, Ascended, and Mastery skins for IX Chel. And then we're getting the G.I. Joe skins, baby. Baroness and Scarlet Neath, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow Sasano. I'm so excited for that skin. And then Cobra Commander and Duke Oyi. Overall, I think these are going to be awesome. It's going to be part of the G.I. Joe event. And if you are a Prime member, you can go on right now and get a avatar pack, I believe, for G.I. Joe for Smite. So go make sure to get that as well. We're getting a Baba Beans, Baba Yaga skin. I don't know how I feel about this. Oni Adventure Athena, which I think looks insane by the card art. Spectral Shifter, the Morgan. Mischief Maker Charybdis. Shoutouts to Charybdis. Getting to buff this patch. Going to be feeling really good with my Hunter build we'll talk about in a bit. And Meowie Maui. You know, I wanted that skin since he released, and we're getting it, and I'm really excited about it. Here's the things you can get in the crossover event for G.I. Joe. I listed all the skins. There'll be some avatars, player titles, recalls, level ups, loading screen, and jump stamp as well. Some quality of life changes. They updated the Maya Pantheon icon. There's a change for leap versus persistent CC, which I was going to think is going to be interesting. Leaping into a persistent CC area will now deal damage or apply any other effects on the leap's landing effect. Previously, leaping into these areas would CC the leaping god and negate any damage or other effects from their leap ability. Roots and Cripples, this is now its own CC. It has a debuff on the icon bar icon, and the effect applies 1 stack of DR. Roots immune to DR are now a possible CC effect. As far as the HUD update, they made it where you can toggle between the HUDs now. PC players will default to the new HUD. Console players will default to the old HUD, where you cannot edit it. If you want to edit the HUD, you have to use the new HUD. And obviously, the old HUD will be missing some of the features of the new HUD. But they are monitoring this closely and have worked a lot on getting this HUD out. And I'm really, really excited about that going forward. Some other things that are coming through. Just some general fixes for the UI. Sorry, I'm sipping on my honey tea, y'all, because my voice must make it through this. Balances that are coming through here on April 18th. We have a kill and bounty shift here, where they increase the amount of XP for killing lower level players by reducing the penalty modifier by 0.2 to 0.15. They decreased from 0.4 to 0.30 XP bonus modifier for killing a higher level player. So just some adjustments there to help with the snowball effect. In Conquest, there's a blue buff change where enemy lane minions hit by your damage and abilities take an additional 5 true damage. Enemy jungle bosses hit by your damage and abilities take an additional 3% of their current health in true damage. Subsequent hits on the same target do half the bonus damage, just like Crusher and those items. Here's the thing that's coming, though. Hunters were finally good. In fact, I'm going to let y'all in a little secret. Y'all been building crit, but really you should be building Diamond Arrow, Bloodforge, Domination, Kins, Silver Branch, Executioner. If you're not a stem hunter, maybe you go Griffin Wing somewhere in there. I'll have to update you on that later. It goes Burr because it's a lot of pin and you're just shredding through targets. Now, there's a pin change in this patch. They are nerfing pin. They decreased the cap from 40 to 32%, and then they have shifting changes on all items. If it has a 20% penetration, it's now down to 16. They decreased the passives that were 20% to 16. This does not affect the cap on dominance, but dominance still going to go Burr. Items that had 10% now are to 8%. 5% went to 4%. The Executioner Griff went from 7 per stack to 6 per stack. Heavy Executioner went from 17.5 to 15. Demonic Grip went from 10 to 9. Soul Eater went from 10% to just 10 penetration. Atlantis Bow went from 10% penetration to 10 penetration. Atalanta's already sucked, so I don't really understand why nerf it more, but shout outs to that. Healing items, we saw some changes to lifesteal items, and not only about how they were picked up, but like how they ended up working and changes from 10.3. So these are all affecting different healing items. So serrated edge, they're going to decrease the lifesteal to 10% and then increase the physical power by 5. And then the passive dropped a percent, but they increased the physical power per stack by 2. So trying to give it a little bit more power, a little less lifesteal. That does balance out decently in the end. So you're going to feel pretty good there. Mail renewal, 100 less gold. And they made it to where the passive now does immediately 10% instead of the 15 before. Jotun's Vigor is now a lifesteal trigger of 20 instead of 30. And the movement speed is now 10 to 15. So they gave a little bit extra movement speed there. Stone of Guy, they decreased the healing on the trigger by the knock-up and all that from 8 to 5. They decreased the passive healing to 0.35% from 0.5%, and they increased decreased the internal cooldown to 20 seconds though instead of 45. Tainted Steel got buffed. You increase healing reduction to 20%, and you heal 120% from the passive now. They upgraded Tainted Amulet buff to 120% healing prevented that you heal from. They also did just regular Tainted Amulet with the same thing. Blessed Scepter is now 650 gold, and then they increased the cost of the tier 2, so that way all the tier 3s in that tree remain the same price. Round Shield got extra 5 protections. Glad Shield got extra 50 health and decreased by 50 gold. Arch Druid went to 100 gold down. They increased the passive trigger damage from 30 plus 1.5 to 40 plus 2 per level. I think this item might be seen a little bit more. I think Arch Druid has been kind of slept on for a while, and you see it in a couple builds here and there, but I think this might bring it into where like people start toying with it a little bit more and seeing how it feels. Hunter nerfs Bloodforge. It's been built like a crazy amount since they added attack speed to it, and they're going to decrease the physical power by 10. This item's still really, really good. I don't see this item going away. Mage nerfs, Book of Toth nerf, they decreased the mana gain per stack from 10 to 7, and decreased the mana from 1,000 to 775 for Evolved. Reason being is mages are still like top stats in all regards. Tablet of Destinies got nerfed, decreased the damage per tick from 0.12% to 0.10%. They fixed an issue where the item was dealing an incorrect amount of damage. Aphrodite nerf, I think we all saw this coming. This god is best busted. Decreased the protections given from Kiss and increased the movement speed. Lovebirds has an increased cooldown from 14 seconds to 16 seconds, and they decreased the CDR to allies and self to 0.2 per tick, and decreased the base heal from 9 to 21 to 7 to 19. Good changes. I think this kind of brings her back into a good spot. They obviously wanted her to come out really strong, and this is just moving that back a little bit, which is going to feel pretty good. Guan Yu decreased the healing, now 20 to 100 scaling. Kurnanos, Autumn Decay will now reduce physical protections, not both types, just physical prots, and decreased Autumn Decay's physical protection debuff to 5 to 25. Ishtar also getting hit with a nerf here. They increased the bonus damage of Strike Shot to now be 5 to 29. Chalk got buffed, baby. He's coming through the jungle like a jaguar. And Thunderstrike increased the base damage. It's now going to scale 90 to 330, so 10 per level. And Rain Dance. Enemy gods with this area are of effect now have physical and magical power decreased by 10% for the duration. That is insane. Chalk going to be in the jungle and the solo, I think, going forward. Camazot's also getting a buff here. Screech, enemy gods hit by this effect are now revealed to Camazot's entire team instead of just him for 15 seconds. So they're trying to run away. You're going to have vision on them. I think this is a great change for Camazot's. It doesn't make him insanely strong. It gives him a way to show where someone is when they're flanking or when you're trying to chase someone down. It gives that extra vision, and it doesn't change him to have more power. I love this change. I love the idea of like sonar being able to track in on something. I think it's super cool. Vampire Bats, they increased the slow from 30 to 40%, and they decreased the cooldown from 15 to 13 seconds on Devour. Why Devour is moved over to the right, we'll never know. Hell Buff, Stance Attunement increased the power debuff to enemies, while Light Stance from 8 to 12%. Decay Restoration increased the base damage from 60 to 260 scaling to 7 to 270. This is a needed change. I mean, obviously, Hell and Afro got hit heavily with changes in 10.3. Hell hasn't seen nearly as much play as Afro did, and I think this will bring Hell back into the fray. Do I think this makes her absolutely OP? No. Do I think this just brings it to where you want to play her a little bit more? Sure. I think it brings her there. Gilgamesh, Sunforged Scimitar. This ability now deals 25% increased damage to lane minions, only on the initial pulse effect. So Gilgamesh got clear, baby, and he needed it. Cthulhu, Sever, increased protection reduction debuff per hit from 3 to 4%, and decrease the max stacks of this effect from 5 to 4. They've talked about how the big boy has struggled in similar ways to Chalk and Camazot. So this is a way to help him out without it being an insane change. I think Cthulhu's pretty good. I think the problem is Kins on Hunters is also really good. So if I see a Cthulhu, I build Kins, and that's just the way of the road. Charybdis, oh sweet, thank you, everything. Is finally getting a buff. Do I think it's the buff to bring her back? No. They've talked about this god's always had a low win rate, even when she's seen SPL play. Spike Shot has a decreased cooldown from 14 and now scales from 14 to 10 seconds, and they increased the Splinter Tide from 2% tide per hit to 3% tide. Here's the problem with Charybdis. I'm going to be honest with everybody. You go into Spike Shot, and it actually, if you're fighting a single target, it's great for clear. If you're fighting a single target, you're doing less DPS than doing your auto chain. At least it feels that way. And I might be right. I haven't done the numbers on it, but I probably should before saying that out loud. And that will sometimes get you killed in a 1v1 exchange when you could have actually won the fight if you swapped over to your autos. I have canceled this ability and went to my autos, and I got the kill, and otherwise I wouldn't have, and vice versa as well. So I think that's part of the problem, is where you go to channel this ability and you expect it to do more damage, and it doesn't than your normal autos do. Serket, this Last Breath, this ability now has the passive component. Serket gains additional crit strike chance per rank equal to 10, scaling to 30%. I'm going to repeat that. 10 to 30% on crit strike chance. Serket's going to go absolutely burr with this new change. Giannis is also getting buffed through space and time. This ability now has a passive component. Giannis gains additional magic penetration per rank, 8 to 16%, and this will count as item power and contribute toward the power cap. So, interesting change for Giannis. I actually like this a lot. I think Giannis is in a better spot as the seasons went on, and I think this will bring him to be more viable. But anyways, that's it for 10.4. I apologize for the hoarse voice. But, I wanted to get y'all something rather than nothing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As I said, let me know what y'all think of the changes. Let me know what y'all think of IX Chel. And I hope to see y'all next time, and maybe even out there on the Battleground. Make sure to check out Battleground of the Gods, a Smite podcast, and Up Your Experience podcast. I'll catch y'all later. Bye.